Okay, hello. Hi. So welcome to the 10 to 13 focus activity on traveling. We'll just do some quick introductions. I'm Jadine and I am from London in England, and I am a new teacher at Myes in Via Meravigli in Milano.
Perfect. Okay, great. And I'm Lisa. So I am also one of the teachers at Myes Meravigli in Milan. And I am from Ireland. Okay, so I'm from Ireland and I've been living in Italy for 2.5 years. So you're all very welcome to our 1 p.m. Focus, our 1 p.m. webinar.
Yes,
So guys, please write to us. Tell us your name, where you're from, what school you go to. I'll be writing to you in the comments, so please feel free.
Yes, and don't forget, we really want to hear from you as well. The more interactive these webinars are, the better. So as we go through, if you have any questions about the content, please let us know and we will answer them. And also there are some activities that you can take part in as well. Just before we start, I want to remind you, obviously, if this is not your first webinar, you already know, but we are running these webinars every day during this period, except Sundays, from 9 in the morning till 9 in the evening, and on Saturdays, I think from 9 in the morning until 12 p.m.
Until 1 p.m. actually, 1 p.m.
Until 1? Okay, so even more opportunity to learn and watch.
I know because I'm doing the 12 o'clock on Saturday.
I see. Oh, okay. Hi, Elisabetta. It's really nice to meet you. And apologies if I pronounce anybody's name incorrectly. My Italian is very, very bad.
Don't worry, that's perfect. Elisabetta is perfect. Welcome, Elisabetta and Nicole. Welcome to our webinar.
Yes. Okay, so the topic of our webinar today is traveling.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about traveling today. Unfortunately, at the moment, we cannot travel.
No, it's a bit of a bittersweet topic, I think, for anybody who was hoping to go on holiday.
Ooh, good word, bittersweet.
Yes. How can we define
what does that mean?
Well, if something is bittersweet, it means literally the words bitter, there's something bad about it, but also sweet, there's something good about it. So we like the idea of traveling, we like the topic of traveling. This is the sweet thing, but the bitter thing would be that we cannot travel right now, so we don't feel so good about it at this moment.
Exactly, perfect.
Okay. So
sorry, my thing froze there, so I just managed to get the word up. Yeah.
No problem.
Sorry, guys. As you know, sorry for if there are any delays. We are, because of the circumstances, teaching at home, so there may be a bit of a delay sometimes. But yeah, exactly. So yeah, bittersweet, it's something that has exactly positives and negatives, or as Elisabetta said there, so pros and cons, maybe good things and bad things. Very good.
Exactly. So in this focus activity, we will be talking about traveling, looking at language for different types of trips, and using the past perfect continuous. Although actually in this activity, we're not only using the past perfect continuous, we are also just looking at the past perfect and the past simples kind of in a comparative way. I know for a lot of my students anyway, the past perfect and the past perfect continuous is something that many people struggle with. So hopefully in this webinar, you'll get a chance to understand why we use them, when we use them, and the opportunity to use them yourselves. And finally, we will be looking at idioms or phrases that are a bit particular about boats.
Yeah, because in English, like with boxing, it's very strange. We have a lot of idioms that relate to something very specific, but we use in lots of different ways. Um, so these ones relate to boats, and some of you will know if you've done some of our lessons that we also have lots of boxing idioms as well in English. It's a strange language.
It's strange, but beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
fun.
Okay, so to begin, Wanderlust. Already we have a word that's a bit unusual. Lisa, how would you describe the word Wanderlust? Or does anybody watching have an idea and want to tell us in the comments?
Okay, very good question. So we'll give them a chance. Give them a chance to answer this. Sorry, my keyboard. I don't know where the question marks are. This is so strange. What is? I'm just gonna. What is Wanderlust? I'm gonna use an exclamation mark instead. So guys, write to us.
Okay,
Tell us
what is Wanderlust?
what you think Wanderlust is. I think this is a. There's a film called Wanderlust, isn't there? I think, which is a
I'm
bit of
not sure, but if
this.
anyone is a user of social media, I know that you often get hashtag Wanderlust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hashtag Wanderlust.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. It's a list for desire. I think, Elisabetta, you mean it's a lust for
Probably
desire?
a lust.
Okay.
Um,
But more
Probably, yeah.
specifically,
Because
desire for what?
exactly, because remember to wander has another meaning as well, to wander.
Yes. So
So
wonder with an O is to think about, but wonder with an A, Lisa, what does it mean?
to wander. So for example, if you wander, you go from place to place. Okay, you go from place to place. Sometimes we say in English to go for a wander is usually
Mm,
to go somewhere with no particular plan. Okay, so
mm.
when you wander, you look around a place. You go somewhere without a plan, I think, to wander.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I would agree. For example, if you go on holiday and you're in a new city, maybe you don't know exactly where you want to go. You just want to wander around the streets and see what's around you. So,
yeah,
with this
exactly.
definition of wonder, oh, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, no, I'm just typing a kind of an explanation. I would also say maybe like to wander is also a little bit to explore.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, with this definition of the word wonder, can anybody tell us what wanderlust is? And it's quite a literal. I think the definition kind of speaks for itself.
Exactly, exactly. If you know what wander means and you know what lust means, I think you've got it.
Mm, definitely. Um, but for those of you who are still unsure, to have wanderlust literally means to have a lust or a really strong desire for exploring new places, for traveling around. So on Instagram travel accounts, you'll see lots of hashtag wanderlust. Maybe you're people who've used this hashtag yourselves. I don't know. I don't judge. Okay.
And sorry, Elisabetta, just to check, are you looking for synonyms for wander or synonyms for wanderlust?
Mm,
Because, like we said, a synonym of to wander is like to explore, to explore, to
and a
explore.
synonym
Or
for lust would be to desire.
mhm.
So
Okay, so hope
it's
that's clear.
literally, yeah, it's literally a desire to travel or explore lots of different places.
Hmm. Exactly. Okay. Um,
Okay, so
so yeah, I think we can maybe open the questions. Okay, brilliant. That's great. Thanks
hmm,
for confirming, Elisabetta. Maybe we can open the questions to the guys.
yeah, I think so. So we have some questions on the screen here. The first, how often do you travel? And that includes both traveling within your own country and traveling abroad. So how often do you travel both within your own country, which is Italy, or abroad, which is anywhere outside of Italy, even if it's in Europe. The second question is, do you travel for business or for pleasure? And the third question is, what would be your ideal trip? So your ideal trip, your dream trip, if you could have any trip you want with any budget. There is
Exactly.
no budget limit.
Usually your ideal trip is something probably that maybe you can't afford. That you can't afford, or like if money was no object, okay? If money was no object.
Yeah, it's the dream. So of course, I really want everyone watching to answer these questions in the comments and we'll read them out. But for now, Lisa, maybe you can answer the first question for me. So how often do you travel within your country? For you, it can be either Ireland or Italy,
Yeah,
and
well,
also abroad.
yeah, well, in terms of, so obviously, I've lived here for 2.5 years, so I travel more within Italy. Sometimes just for short trips. So I would say maybe for like a day trip or a city
Okay.
break.
Yeah,
Um,
or a mini break as well, we can
yeah,
say, which is
yeah,
usually like a
exactly.
weekend trip somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe like a mini break, but probably because we teach at the weekends, so usually I don't.
Otherwise,
I would probably travel maybe once every 2 months within Italy, and abroad probably twice a year. Depends. It just depends, I guess.
okay. And when
What?
you go abroad, is that more short haul? So, for example, to another country in Europe, maybe 3 or 4 hours maximum travel time, or long
Mhm.
haul, which is, maybe 10 hours or so to a different continent.
Usually it's short haul travel, so short haul travel. So usually I would say within Europe. So within Europe, it's usually short haul, and then maybe a trip, maybe once every 3 years, long haul travel. For example, I have a brother who's in Canada. So yeah, so long haul travel in that case is when you travel maybe to somewhere from here, like America, Australia. Um,
Yeah.
all different places. What about you, JD?
I think long haul will be anywhere where they give you free food on the flight or where you can watch a movie. If you can watch a movie on the flight because they have the little televisions, this is a long haul flight, I think. um,
Exactly, definitely. Which I like. I really enjoy that sort of travel.
yeah. And also, I feel like the movies are always quite recent or quite good. So
Mm.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, sometimes you get movies that aren't even in the cinema in Europe yet because they're in America
Yes,
before you get
yes.
them on the plane.
Or maybe
Amazing.
at home you don't have time to watch these movies, but on the flight you have nothing else to do. Just watch films, stay hydrated.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
bad.
great. Okay, so
Um,
guys, tell us your own
yes.
experiences, how often you travel. Obviously, we're talking about not at this moment.
This is generally
Yeah,
excluding the
usually
year
as well.
2020. We do not count right now. Um, but yes, okay. So for me, how often do I travel? Um, I oh no, tell me, Lisa.
Uh, Ideal trip. There's a big
Ah,
delay. Just
yeah,
oh
don't
god.
worry. Okay, so Elizabeth, we would say I love to travel abroad and to discover a place or places where I can eat amazing food and drink amazing wine. Yes, I agree. I agree. I think
Okay.
for me, a
Perfect.
good country like this is, or a good place is Barcelona. I love Barcelona. I love the food and the wine. Mm.
Okay, exactly. So yes, I'm
Okay.
just correcting that there. So I love to travel abroad and discover places. Okay, discover places. Okay,
Fantastic.
just like
Okay.
this.
So question
Okay.
2. Do you, and Lisa, you can be my model student. Do you travel for business or for pleasure?
In general, like I have traveled for business in the past, but in general, it's for pleasure, for holidays, to relax, to take a break from the city, things like this.
Nice. And I can
Okay.
just see Nicole or Nicolette
Hmm.
has commented, I haven't traveled a lot recently, of course, but I'd like a trip in Japan. Just one thing I would say is we'd like a trip to Japan because
Yeah.
remember, whenever we go from one place to another, we don't use the preposition in, we use the preposition to because we are traveling in a direction. But great. I would also like a trip to Japan, especially in the season where they have all the cherry blossoms on the trees. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I would love to try. I'd love to, because sometimes we also say, I'd love to take a trip. I'd love to take a
Yes.
trip. So you can say both. I'd love to take a trip I would
Mm,
love to take a trip to South America, if money was
yeah.
no object.
Yes. Okay. So would you say that if money was no object, your ideal trip for question 3 would be to South America?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it's been for the last few years, it's been something I really, really would like to do. So probably my ideal trip would be to, if money was no object, to spend maybe some months traveling around South America. Um, yeah,
Wow.
definitely. Uh,
Okay, yes. Okay. And Elizabeth has said, I love to take a trip for pleasure for sure. Yes, I think it's always better. Although actually I have never traveled for business, so I'm not really, I can't
yeah,
really say which is better.
well,
Um,
I think in general, because I've taken very short business trips when I used to work in marketing, and yeah, like you don't get to really have time to visit a place. You it's not the same. It's not the same as traveling for pleasure, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's quite tiring as well because you literally go from the plane or from the train to your work and then sometimes back in the same day. Oh,
Exactly. Look at this.
Elizabeth, your
Amazing.
ideal trip is around the world. We say around, with a bike. That's my ideal trip as well.
You,
Actually,
you'd have
two
to be
men.
super fit for that. You would have to be super
Yeah,
fit for that.
really, but there were at my university two
Uh-huh.
men or boys, I guess they were men, who did a round the world trip on a tandem bike.
Wow.
So a tandem bike is a bike but for two people, where one sits on the seat in the front and steers, and the other sits on the seat in the back. I think you can Google them as well. They were called the Tandem Men.
Very nice. Okay, tandem men. I love it. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just putting that there. So a tandem bike, if anyone doesn't know, I think it's
no
similar
problem.
in Italian, but yeah, for two people on one bike.
Easy. Yes,
Not on the
yes.
same seat. There are two seats.
No, no. Tandem as well just generally means that two people do something together that
Like us.
literally together.
We're
Yes,
we're doing a tandem webinar.
tandem webinar, fantastic. Okay, so moving on then, here we have some vocabulary, but also another question. So, what's your travel style? This just means what is the type of travel or the type of trips and holidays you like to take? Is it more luxury, more relaxing, or is it more like a camping style trip where you stay out in the nature and there are no what can we say, there are no frills or no luxury kind of aspects to the
Very
trip.
good. I love that. No frills. I love that.
Mm, yes, no frills. We often see no frills with really cheap airlines. where the tickets for the flights are so cheap because there are no frills. For example, there are no included meals, there's no TV, there's not a lot of leg room, but the flight is much cheaper.
So
So
could we say, I just wrote a description here. Could we say no frills is something like no extras or luxury?
yeah,
No frills travel, no
yeah,
extras or luxuries. Yeah, no
exactly. I think
frills.
that's the perfect description. Okay,
Very
so
good.
we're going to go through some of this vocabulary. And of course, if you know what any of this vocabulary means, put it in the comments. If you want to comment on your travel style, put it in the comments. So for now, Lisa, you can help me. So,
Yes.
what is this first word? What is a luxury spa?
Ooh, a luxury spa. Okay. So, in Ireland, we have a lot of these. So I would say a lot of the time, it's
Hmm.
probably in a five-star hotel or a resort.
Oh,
So it's something that, oh, we've lost the screen. It's something that,
yeah, I'm not sure what's happening
oh, it's
there. Okay.
okay. I think that can happen sometimes. Uh, so yeah, it's something that is extremely well run, extremely well staffed. I would say so. Yeah, it's very 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 nice.
Yes, Elisabetta. So luxury is like the opposite of no frills. But be careful with the way we spell opposite. It's with
Hmm.
two P's and an O. So Lisa will put that in the comments.
Yep. So
Um,
opposite, like this, but that could have
yes,
just been a typo.
yes,
Opposite.
exactly. And also Lisa, what's a spa?
Oh, so a spa. So
Nothing.
I remember, uh, what is it? I remember that I heard that the spa is actually short for something, and it comes from Latin, because it comes from the health that you get from water.
Ah,
So yeah,
okay.
the actual it's spa is actually an acronym for something from Latin, which is
I did not
basically
know
like
that.
health through water, health through kind of taking care of yourself. So a spa is a
Mhm.
place where you get lots of nice treatments, like
Yeah,
massages, maybe
yeah.
also. For example, they might have a really nice pool, jacuzzi, all of these things.
Mm.
Maybe a facial, a facial.
Ooh, yeah, or a face mask.
Yeah.
And also my favorite, which is the sauna. I love the sauna. The sauna is the wooden room which gets really hot, and basically you will just sit there sweating and looking disgusting, but afterwards you feel amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a place with a really kind of hot temperature, isn't it? Uh,
Mm, possibly too hot, but I like it.
Sometimes,
I
yeah.
like it.
Although I prefer a sauna to a steam room. Okay.
Oh,
Uh,
me too. Yes. Yeah. So the sauna and the steam room are very similar, except the sauna is like a dry heat. A
mhm.
dry heat. So the room is just very hot. You are very wet and sweaty, but the room itself is dry. Whereas a steam room is like a very humid and wet room where you can, it's just as hot as the sauna, but you can see all of the steam.
Thank you. We have Geordie helping us out with the Latin
Oh,
term
Geordie, hello.
aquaspadine. Aquaspadine.
Ah, I
That's the
knew
Latin
that.
term I
I knew
referred
that.
to. Yeah.
Who didn't know that? Okay. So next we have hitchhiking. Lisa, what can we say about hitchhiking?
Hitchhiking. I do this. Actually, they're doing it in the photo. They're hitchhiking in the photo.
Yes, exactly. So what's happening when you hitchhike?
Uh, well, it's something that people okay, Elizabeth doesn't know. So, when people don't do it as often anymore, but it's maybe an old-fashioned style of travel where you stand on the side of the road, you put out your thumb like this, and
Oh,
you ask for. So what we say is you flag down a car. Okay, you
oh yeah,
flag down
flag
a
down,
car.
which is
Okay,
to
so
ask
flag
it
down
to
a car.
stop.
Exactly. So to flag down a car to together.
Hello? Hello? Okay, I'm not sure if my internet is playing up
A
or if
lift
Lisa's internet is stalling. Maybe you can put in the
somewhere
comments
to try.
who is still being seen. Okay. So I think slash hope it was Lisa. But for those of you who don't know, hitchhiking in Italian is something you call the auto stop. So it's when you ask cars to stop at the side of the road and they will hopefully pick you up, drive you to your location, and then you can get to where you're going without paying. Lisa, are you back?
Yes, sorry about that. Sorry,
No,
guys.
no problem.
I'm
Okay.
back. I'm sorry. Don't worry. If we come in and out, don't worry. It's just because this takes a lot of internet to do this.
Yes, but thank you for writing in the comments. If it happens again, please let us know, and then the other person knows to continue.
Huh?
Okay,
Yeah, unfortunately, the whole thing froze on me, so I couldn't do anything.
no problem, no problem. Um, so then we have charter plane. So what is a chartered plane or a chartered flight?
It's something I've never taken. um, it's similar to a private jet, isn't it? Because it's like you have arranged it yourself.
I think so. I think so. So the usual flights or the flights that run all the time, I think we call them scheduled flights.
Hmm.
Think. So a
Yeah.
chartered flight is
So
one that
so we wouldn't
someone has hired.
exactly. So we wouldn't say Ryanair is not a chartered plane. Okay, it's not a chartered plane.
No,
Yeah.
no. And because as well, usually the Ryanair flights, they are scheduled. So you will get maybe every day at 10 in the morning, a flight from Milan to London, etc. Don't
Don't
worry about
worry.
it. Now you have learned something different.
Exactly.
Okay.
Don't worry. Now you know that Ryanair is the opposite to a chartered plane.
Okay. And although I'm not sure how often you say chartered plane, Elizabeth, I've never said it, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure what you talk about.
it's more a term that I guess you would see maybe in a movie or you might read about it in a book. Ah, okay,
Mm.
it's a false friend. Okay, it's a false friend in Italian. Okay, that's why.
Ah, okay, good to know. Good to know for us. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, backpacking.
Yeah.
What can you say about this?
So remember, guys, a backpack is a bag that you hold on your back. Okay. So if you're traveling with a backpack and you just move from place to place and you have all of your luggage in the backpack,
Mhm.
that would be backpacking. Okay, so a lot of
Yes.
people go backpacking around Asia, South America, different places like this, or sometimes people backpack across Europe because they travel from place to place with their backpack.
Yeah. So the opposite of a backpack in terms of luggage would be a suitcase.
Hmm.
So this is usually the bag you have that is on wheels and you can drag or wheel around with you. But be really careful with the pronunciation of this word because it's spelt like sweet case, but you pronounce it suitcase.
Yeah,
Okay, so you can practice at home with this suitcase.
exactly. So yeah, it makes the O sound, suitcase. Exactly,
Yes,
Nicole.
okay,
Perfect. Yeah, travel with your backpack. That's what backpacking is.
good. So
Okay.
next we have kind of a comparison. We have someone who likes to stay with the known and an aimless wanderer. So what would you say the difference was between these types of travelers?
I would say someone who likes to stay with the known, so they like to stay with what they're comfortable with. They're a
Mm,
person who stays in their comfort zone, and probably they like to have a lot of control over things. Maybe they're less, I would say, less free. Um,
mm.
Whereas someone who's aimless
Okay, so I think that Lisa may have frozen again. But the word aimless literally means to not have an aim or to not have a
prefers
target. So remember what we said about wandering, which is to explore and uh, see
not to
different
plan.
places. If you are an aimless wanderer, you are someone who likes to explore without a plan, as Lisa mentioned before she got cut off. So this is also a contrast to our next word, which is an over planner. So
Thanks,
a
Elizabeth. Don't worry,
regular,
I'm back.
um, a regular, any normal person who goes on a trip usually would plan a trip. You would plan or you would organize in advance where you will stay or what you will do. If you are an over planner, this means that you have planned everything. So you have planned your itinerary or your diary for every day of your holiday, for every hour of every day. And then finally, we have to fly solo and to take a group tour. So I think this is quite clear. If you fly solo, solo, similar to in Italian, means alone. So I am one person. I am flying to a country alone. I will have this holiday or this trip alone, and I'm comfortable with that. For some people who are not so comfortable traveling alone, maybe for safety reasons, or just because they prefer to have people to share things with, but maybe they don't have any friends who want to do the same trip as them, you can join a group tour, which is usually a group of solo travelers who go through an organized company to take a tour or a trip to a different country. Okay, so hi Lisa. Our final word
I
is
think
eat
I think
local fare.
if I don't speak, I won't get cut off. So I'm gonna stay quiet.
Oh, so actually, I do need your help because the last phrase even I don't understand. So eat
Oh,
local fare.
because local fare, it's quite an old term, just to mention. We wouldn't use this very often.
I've never
Because
heard this.
Okay, so because the local fare is basically like the food from that region. Okay, local fare. It's just an
Mm,
old term for like the f- the food of those people. So like the traditional food. So in this case, maybe a person whose their travel style is to eat local fare, probably they would be a foodie, like we would say a foodie. So they're a
yes.
person. Exactly. They're a person who likes to travel and try all the traditional food. So, for
Mm,
example, maybe someone who works in food, a lot of the purpose of traveling would be to sample the local traditional food.
or you can call this as well the local delicacies. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Very good.
as Lisa said, local traditional food, or we can say local delicacies. So please in the comments, write what your travel style is. We want to know. I think for me, I have in the past done the hitchhiking, backpacking, aimless wandering type of journeys. But now I'm a bit older. I prefer luxury journeys. I prefer to stay with things I know because I am a bit tired. What about you, Lisa? What's your travel style?
Um, I guess I'm probably a bit of an aimless wanderer.
Oh,
I would
nice.
say, because even when I travel, like I like to go to a place and to have organized it, but I probably then just like to wander a lot and to explore and discover things for myself.
Okay.
So probably a little bit of an aimless wanderer. Yeah, I'm not much of a backpacker. I never have been. um,
Okay, but there's still a chance. Still a chance.
we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so
Okay,
some
so
idioms.
yes, and I'm gonna try and go through these quite quickly because I really want us to have a chance to look at the grammar.
Cool.
So has anybody heard of these idioms and what do you think they mean? I'll them for you. So the first is to jump ship. The second is to be up a creek without a paddle. So a creek is like a body of water, I think, kind of like a river, but maybe with some rocky area around. The third is whatever floats your boat. The fourth is ships in the night. The fifth is when you say two or more people are in the same boat. And the final one is when your ship comes in. So if you've heard or you have any ideas of what some of these idioms can mean, please write to us. I see that Nicole says, based on the last question, my travel style is like my last trip in Kenya with my boyfriend. We ate local fare and tried out local customs. Nice. Nice. I like
Excellent.
that.
Okay,
Yes.
very good.
It's always
Wow,
good to
and
be in with the locals.
that must be very interesting in Kenya as well, because I imagine the local delicacies are very different.
Mm,
Um,
I'm sure.
okay, so just to mention, sorry, Jadine. So I'm going to, because I'm having the technical problems, I'm going to turn off my camera if that's okay, so I don't
Yeah, no
disconnect as
problem.
much. Okay, so
That's
just to mention,
fine.
guys. Okay.
Okay, so to go through these idioms, we would say to jump ship. For example, if there is a bad situation that we want to, for example, but was down south out of uh, Lombardia. So,
Very
oh,
good example.
ooh, okay, yes. So that is the meaning of to jump ship. If you have ever jumped ship, if you know of a time you have done this, please write in the comments and let us know. Lisa, what could we say about the second idiom, to be up a creek without a paddle?
Okay, so sorry, I was just writing a description of jump ship. Okay, so to be up a creek without a paddle. Okay, this would mean you're in a very kind of difficult situation. You're in a difficult
Yes,
situation and you don't have something that can help you. You don't have something you need to save you. Okay.
yeah.
Um,
So we can see, oh, sorry, I was going to say, we can see in this picture of a boat, the paddle is the thing you use to move the boat. So
yes.
if you are on a boat somewhere dangerous, but you don't have a paddle, you're in a difficult situation that you can't escape or get out of.
Exactly, and without help. So I just saw that Elizabeth said there was a problem. I think there was a disconnection in the sound, but I think it's all okay now. So don't worry. And thanks, guys, for keeping us updated.
Yes, and I think Lisa is putting definitions for everything anyway, so you can read them as well if you can't hear us. So our third example, or our third idiom, whatever floats your boat. This is a strange one, actually. If, for example, we are talking about different food that we like, and the
Hmm.
food you like is completely different to the food I like, I can say whatever floats your boat. And
Yeah.
to have something float your boat just means whatever makes you happy makes you happy. So different things may float our boats differently. What floats your boat might not float my boat. So it just means the different things that make people happy.
Yeah, perfect.
And number 4, we have ships in the night, or actually more specifically, passing ships in the night. And this is actually, I think, a quote from Shakespeare. I'm not sure if I'm right, Lisa. Maybe you know?
The ship in the night? Ooh.
Or
I'm not
maybe not.
sure.
Maybe it was star-crossed lovers. But ships in the night, or passing ships in the night. Imagine you are on a boat, but you are on a boat in the nighttime. You cannot see very much. So if we have two ships in the ocean at night, they cannot see each other. So maybe they would like to interact, but they are unable because they don't know that the other one is there. If Lisa and I work in the same building, but I only work in the mornings and she only works in the evenings, we can say that we are ships in the night because even though we are in the same place, we never see each other. If that's unclear to anybody, then please let us know. um, so our fifth idiom is in the same boat. Right now, we can say with the red zone and everybody being quarantined, we are all in the same boat. So it just means we are all in the same situation. What happens to you is also happening to me. And our last idiom is when your ship comes in. Actually, Lisa, I struggle with this one because I never use it.
Yeah, like it's quite an old phrase, I guess. When your ship
I
comes
believe
in,
so.
like sometimes
It's
wouldn't
good, Nicole.
people. Yeah,
Excellent.
perfect. Exactly. The same situation in the same boat. But yeah, when your ship comes in, wouldn't people say like when you arrive at that point, isn't it? It's usually something to talk about when something happens. So for example, like when your ship comes in, when you retire, something like this is like uh
I think it's definitely about a good thing, like when a good thing happens to you when your
yeah.
ship
I
comes
think it can
into
be.
this good place.
Yeah, different types of big events when your ship comes in. Like for
Mm.
example, even sometimes when people joke about the lottery or something like that, that like winning the
Yes.
lottery is when your ship comes in. So I think it can be used in lots of different ways to talk
Mm.
about like reaching a certain point or a certain achievement.
Yeah. No, I think so. It's definitely positive. So these idioms might sound strange to a lot of you, but actually, definitely in British English, we use these phrases all the time. Actually, we hear them all the time. So they're really good phrases to learn, even if you don't use them, but to understand the meaning so that if you hear them, you know what's happening in the conversation.
Perfect. Okay. So maybe just for the last 5 minutes, will we take a look at the past perfect continuous?
Yes, I was going to say that. We'll skip this slide. And Lisa, do you think this is a good slide to be on because of the comparisons?
Yes, that's a good one, just to take a look at it as well.
Okay, so this will be our final activity, and I know we're not really going to be spending a long time on it. But if you enjoyed this webinar, you can maybe put in the comments and we can run the webinar again, but focusing more on the grammar.
Exactly, because we will be doing a lot of webinars anyway, so you're going to see some of the same topics again in different ways because we have a lot of different teachers hosting these.
Exactly. So here we have a block of text about an adventure abroad, which we'll read out to you. And you can see that in black and in italics, so in slanted writing, we have different tense options. Okay, so we are going to go through them. It would be great if you tell us which tense you think or which option we should use, and then we'll explain why. So, Lisa, do you want to start reading?
Sorry, I actually can't really see the screen well because it's very small.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, it's just not
No
as
problem.
clear, and I had to
Fine.
close all the windows because of the connection. Sorry.
It's fine. Okay, I hope everyone else can see it. So, the first sentence we have is, my best friend and I went or had been on a trip a few years ago that I will never forget. So what do you think the correct option is? My best friend and I went on a trip a few years ago, or my best friend and I had been on a trip a few years ago?
Yeah, so remember here it relates to time, a specific time in the past that is finished.
Exactly. So I know there's a delay in the comments, but I'll move on. The correct option is, my best friend and I went on a trip a few years ago that I will never forget. Because as Lisa said, we're talking about an experience in the past that's finished, and we're talking about a specific time. So a few years ago. The next sentence, by the
Perfect.
time
Both of the guys got that there.
Great. Okay, by the time we arrived or had arrived, this is our first option. So by the time we arrived or had arrived. And then the second part of the sentence, we were traveling or we had been traveling on the train for hours. So we were absolutely exhausted, or so we were very tired. It's the same meaning. So for the first option, by the time we arrived or had arrived, we would say by the time we arrived, because we use the past simple. This is the time we are talking about. We are talking about when we arrived in the past. The second part of the sentence, we were traveling on the train, or we had been traveling on the train. We would say we had been traveling on the train because we use the past perfect. The past simple and the past perfect are similar, but the past simple is the tense we use when we talk about a specific time in the past, and the past perfect is the tense we use when we talk about something that happened before that time. So by the time we arrived, this is when we're talking about. We had been traveling on the train for hours because before we arrived, we had been traveling.
Exactly. Yeah. So up until that specific point. Unfortunately, we kind of have to start finishing up. But as we said, we can continue this or also to do this again for another webinar to go into the past perfect and past perfect continuous a bit more, because unfortunately we're running out of time.
Yes, this is the first time actually I've run out of time for a webinar.
Yeah,
But
well,
just
10
before
to 13, there's a lot of content. So
just before we wrap up, one thing I do want to say about that we had been traveling. I hope that you can all see this is actually the past perfect continuous. And the reason we use the past perfect continuous and not the past perfect, which is we had traveled, is because we want to highlight that the traveling took a duration of time. But yeah, so we can get
perfect.
into this at a different time.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, guys, if you have any final questions, please let us know in the comments. Okay. As I said, there will be more webinars that you can join in to practice different grammar points and also to practice your English.
Yeah, and actually for those of you who enjoy this level, immediately after this, we're running another 10 to 13 webinar on slang. So I will also be
Excellent.
running that with Liam. So you're welcome to stay around
Exactly.
and
So if
learn some slang.
yeah, so if you guys are free, you can stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So bye everybody.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for your participation. Sorry you can't see my face, but bye.
Bye bye.